And like to welcome you all to our Tuesday 1:30 p.m. session today, where Infinite Legacy will be doing a special session for us today on Donate Life Month, which April is. And thank you so much for coming on our session today. I'm going to read our disclaimer before we get started. The WildTech DC Senior Digital Equity Program, its owners and presenters offer technical assistance, virtual health, well-being information designed for educational purposes only. You should not rely on the info on any apps or topics made by WildTech, including but not limited to mobile device applications and any social media pages maintained by WildTech, its owners or presenters as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, or legal advice. Thanks so much for letting me read the disclaimer. If you cannot see us, hear us, or see the screen, please let us know in the chat. We would appreciate that. Let's make sure to keep our TVs and cell phones in mind so we can give ourselves the most immersive experience. And as always, make sure to take notes and or screenshots so you can review the information for later on. But yes, this session will be on our YouTube channel so you can replay and review as much as you'd like. Once again, Dwight, if you could introduce yourself and your topic for today. Your guests are also co-hosts. They could unmute as they like as well. I'm happy to assist with the hands and make sure let's all stay on for the poll at the end. Dwight, thanks so much. And yeah, take it away.
Alexander, thank you, and thank WildTech, the WildTech program, for allowing us this space, especially in April here, which is Donate Life Month. But first and foremost, hello everybody. My name is Dwight R. Smith. The R stands for Ragamuffin. Thank you, Grandma. And I am here today. I'm the community outreach coordinator for Infinite Legacy. I've spoken here before, so as a quick refresher, Infinite Legacy is the OPO for the DMV area. That means we are the organ procurement organization for DC, Maryland, and Northern Virginia. And anything that has to do with a life-saving transplant, we are here to assist. And I'm, again, with community outreach, so I focus in the DC area specifically myself, being born and raised here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for all participants to see. Yes. All right, and so I should be able to bloop. And can I get a confirmation that you all can see my screen up here?
Yep, you're good to go. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. And I have two amazing volunteers who will be speaking to you all today as well, Jerry and Eileen, and they'll be able to talk to you all in just a moment. I'll give them a second, well, actually more than a second, to talk about their experience with donation and what Donate Life Month means to them. So, hello again, everybody. So, this presentation is on the process of organ, eye, and tissue donation. And so we partner heavily with a nonprofit called Donate Life, Washington, D.C. Donate Life America is the nonprofit that manages the registered organ donor list. So everybody who signs up to be a donor, whether at the DMV or online or at your doctor's office or anything like that, when you go on the national registry list, Donate Life America are the people who actually manage that list. And so Donate Life DC is just the DC chapter of it. We partner heavily with DC, Maryland, and Virginia's chapters of Donate Life. All right, let me click back on here. All right, good. So Infinite Legacy and Donate Life DC actually share a lot of the same mission and vision when it comes to organ donation. We're responsible for managing, they're responsible for managing the DC donor registry. We work closely with federally designated nonprofit organ procurement organizations serving DC, which would be Infinite Legacy. And we also educate our community about organ, eye, and tissue donation and how to register as a donor in DC. The vision is very simple. We want every Washingtonian to make sure that they're educated about making decisions when it comes to organ, eye, and tissue donation and registering to be a donor for after they pass away. Just to be clear, if you recall, there are two different types of donation. It's living donation, where you can give some things while you're still alive as long as you are healthy beforehand. And then there's deceased donation. That's what we're focused on today. And then also we have DLDC's mission, which is saving and enhancing lives by registering organ, eye, and tissue donors. Just a little background on Infinite Legacy and our whole, we went too far. Basically, this is what our DSA is, our designated service area, which is the whole DMV, as mentioned before. In our DSA, there are about 10 million people, and we partner with 68 different hospitals, 8 transplant centers, which is, I believe, all of them, and we work with all of the DMVs and MVAs, which are in Maryland, and then the DMVs that are in Virginia and DC as well. We're partnered with all of them to make sure that we get as much of this information out there as possible. If you actually go to your local DMV or MVA, you will see a bunch of Donate Life brochures in the somewhere in there for sure. So this is a big part of what I wasn't able to talk about the other times that I was able to come and talk to this wonderful group, is the actual donation process itself. We talked about what organs and what tissues can be donated. Now we're going to actually talk about the process and actually let you know exactly step by step how it happens. So first, it begins with a hospital referral. The hospital referral would be the administration side of the hospital. So not the doctors or nurses or EMTs who work with the patients, who provide care for the patients. These are the people who are the administrative leads, the people who only stay on the computer for data collection. Those are the people who actually send the referrals out to the OPO, in this case, Infinite Legacy, to let them know if a case is being referred to them, letting them know that it is looking dire in the hospital. And that allows us that only actually allows the OPO staff members, the medical staff members, to be ready to go at a moment's notice, because as soon as a donor passes away, we have to procure everything before blood stops flowing to the organs, because then the body will not be able to, the organs will fail, and they will not be able to be donated and to a recipient, which is always the more preferred scenario. So a hospital referral happens only when most life-saving services have been exhausted by a hospital, and the situation still seems to be going south and the patient isn't doing well. At that point, the on-site assessment happens. This is, I believe, more so after. So the on-site assessment happens to see exactly if that person is even eligible to be a donor, whether their tissues and or organs are in a condition where they can be donated to a recipient, if it's possible. Because we don't just go in and grab after you pass away and then find out if it's good. We find out beforehand using medical history and things like of that nature. Next would be the family conversation and authorization. So there is, I believe it's FPA, first person authorization. That's when any individual, any of you or myself, sign up to be a donor. And then also, if we do not sign up to be a donor, and that's first person authorization, then Infinite Legacy has a family services department that they are in charge of going and talking to the family members, whether you are or not signed up. If you are signed up as a donor and you did that yourself, that is what we follow, because the person's wishes are our first concern, our first priority. But if you are not signed up as a donor, we approach the family to talk to them about potentially having you be a donor to help save lives. And even if you are already signed up as a donor, we still approach the family to talk to them about the donation process, so they're not left out in the wind. Remember, if you have any questions whatsoever, if anything is a little confusing, maybe make sure you pop that question in the chat or raise your hand and we'll be sure to get to you. The next part will be the allocation and the recipient notification. I'm sorry, I seen something here. All right, good. All righty. So the next part will be the allocation and the recipient notification. So when we actually procure the organs and the tissues, next has to be who matches with that donor. And remember, if you recall, the factors that go into matching a donor to a recipient are all medical based. None of it involves really your race, your sexual orientation. It doesn't, like what else doesn't apply? Like your wealth status, your income status does not apply. But the factors that do matter would be like blood type, other medical matches, the size of the person, because that comes into play with organ size. Because if you recall, a big lung, like maybe Shaq's lung, can't go inside of like Kevin Hart's body, for just a quick example. And so the recipient notification also happens because when we procure it, the organ cannot stay outside of the body for too long. We have medical advancements and technology that will allow us to keep the organ in functioning condition. But of course, we still want to make sure we get that to a recipient sooner than later. And so at this point, the recipient is also notified that they need to get to the hospital or wherever it's going to take place within a certain time frame, depending on the urgency and also depending on which organ we're talking about. Because some organs have a longer preservation time outside of the body, and some have way shorter. I believe the shortest being the heart, which is 4 to 6 hours. It could be preserved, and then the kidneys being the longest, which about it could be preserved 24 to 48 hours outside of the body. Oh, gotta click on this now because I hit the thing. Alrighty, I should be good to go. Yeah, all right, good. And next comes the actual organ and tissue and or tissue recovery, depending on if the person was eligible to actually be a donor, whether it comes to organ or tissues. Either or it happens. And if it's both, then I believe it does happen in this order, where the organ recovery is priority because that's what we use to help save lives. And tissues are very much still important, and they're used to enhance lives, but they are second priority after organs. So organ recovery would happen first, then tissue recovery would happen afterwards, or simultaneously in some cases. And then, of course, we always love to make sure that we support the family members even after this whole endeavor is over. We have a aftercare department, which is full of team members who are always supporting families through multiple programs that we have that we offer family members of donors. We offer them services for up to 2 years. And then even after that, if they choose to continue onward, where it can involve many different programs that we do, and also just regular services where we send the family members of the donor a medal. I believe it's I forgot exactly what we call it. My apologies. It's somewhere along the lines of like the medal of donorship or something similar to that, to recognize, of course, and remember that person for the gift that they give, the gift of life that they gave. And or even when a person does sign up to be a donor and they're not able to donate anything, maybe because of the way they passed away, or maybe their organs weren't in a healthy condition or their tissues either, we still send a medal that looks slightly different, and that's more it stands for donor in spirit. And so we still have a medal that we still send them as well, along with a teddy bear and a card. And that's just one of the many things that we do and the many services that we offer afterwards. So we do want to make sure that everybody understands that we do not only care and want to honor the donor, but also the family that they had to leave behind. And then we have just a very cordial hospital follow up. And we go over all of this data with the hospitals themselves in terms of, oh, how many people were able to donate 1 month, and what were some of the downfalls of like maybe some people we might have missed, or like did the hospital miss any of the referrals that could have been referred to us potentially. So that's more of a hospital. That's more of a part of our relationship with the hospital that we have. White, Miss Dina White, I see you have your hand raised. Please come off mute and let me know what your question is. Are you still muted,
Oh,
Dina?
Dwight, I'll be able to assist with the hands. Thank you so much. Miss Dina, you had a question for Dwight about this slide right here? Okay. Just let us know if you're on. Okay. Dwight, was there one more part in this slide? The
No, no,
ambulance
no. We're
part?
about no. It's about to be another part. It's about to be the next slide now. I see,
Okay.
and Dennis has her hand raised.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And go ahead.
Hi, Dwight. How are you today?
Doing good. How are you?
Um, if I put something, first of all, if I have diabetes, so
Okay.
would I be able to donate?
So yes, regardless of your age and of your medical history, you can still donate. The only there's only one thing that eliminates you from everything, which is active cancer. If you've been in remission for more than 2 years, you're allowed to still donate because of two things. One, we do the on-site assessment, that part of the process. That's where we look over medical history and check and see if the organs and tissues are eligible to be donated. So if they're not because of any medical history or anything like that, then they will not donate them. And then two, you have to remember there are other people on the transplant waiting list with some of those same conditions that people might have already. For one of the bigger examples being HIV, when somebody has HIV, a donor who has HIV can still donate to a recipient who has HIV. So we don't want anybody to count themselves out because of anything medical related or age wise. As long as you're willing to help, you should sign up to be a donor, especially if you want to help your community.
Thank you, Dwight. And also, if you put it in your will and a family member does not want that to happen, can they disavow your
Your
wishes?
decision.
Hmm.
So I do know if you register on the National Donor Registry list, whether at the DMV or online at donatelifeamerica.net, I believe. If you sign
Hmm.
up through there, through the National Registry, it is legally binding. So even if your family member was your next of kin or who it may be, it would be disapproving of it, it still goes through because that's your wish. And we respect the priority wishes of donor come first. When it comes to your will, I am not 100% sure on the legalities of that. I do believe your will is legally binding. So that's something you'd want to talk to whoever you set that up with, your attorney, or I believe there are other avenues you could take to set up your will. But I believe your will does also take priority.
Over somebody else's wishes.
Yeah, yeah. So over
Okay.
like your next of
Even
kin
if they're
wishes.
even if they're in charge of it.
I was about to say, and that's where the legalities come into play
Okay.
that I'm not 100% like if they have power of attorney, then maybe it does work that way. I'm not 100% sure. I can't speak to the will and testament, I'm afraid.
Okay. Now, if you take body parts, is there it can the body be viewed?
So thankfully, the whole donation process when it comes to organ and tissue recovery, I'm happy you brought that up because a lot of people do think that like this involves like taking apart or taking body parts. It does not include that at all. You can still have an open casket even after recovery, even after donation, because the whole donation process is respectful of the body. And we work with the morticians to make sure that anything that we do is not viewable during a funeral.
Okay. Thank you, Dwight.
No
Because
problem.
we've been discussing this among us older Des Moines and Conyers,
Hmm.
and our children are not really receptive to the idea. So
Mm.
we were just trying to figure out, and some of us are sick, and we just wanted to know if that is an option, um, to how it's done. So thank you for answering. I won't take you up your more of your time, but because I know people
No
think I
problem.
talk too much. But
No problem, Ms. Des.
It's
I appreciate the
okay. It's
questions.
okay.
Those
Thank
were
you.
very enlightening.
okay, yes, I thank you so much because, like I said, we wanted to make an informative decision.
I appreciate you highly. Thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Hmm.
All righty, folks.
Thanks,
So
Dan.
is that was all the questions for now, right, Alex?
Yep, yep.
Just
Thank
making
you all
sure.
so much. Again, and make sure you raise your hands and use the chat to share those questions. Thank you so much.
I appreciate y'all highly. All right, folks, moving forward and moving onward. Next, so we always want to not only emphasize, but remind everybody what this is all about, what Donate Life Month is about, what donation is about altogether. It's about helping enhance and save lives, folks. One organ donor can save up to 8 to 9 people with their donation, can save up to 9 lives. You can donate 6 organs. It's what is it? It's the heart. The liver can be split into two and donated to two separate people because your liver is the only regenerative organ inside of the human body. So that is possible. It's nice. You can't do it infinitely, but it is possible to do it once, potentially twice. And then we have the other ones, lungs. I already said heart, lungs. We have the small intestine, the pancreas, and the kidneys, all leading up to potentially helping to save up to 9 lives. And there are over 1,000 people in DC alone who are on the transplant waiting list who would be extremely, extremely grateful to have any sort of help when it comes to this. Oh yeah, I actually put them right here. I forgot to put them on here. So as you can see, you can help out with the 2 livers, the 2 lungs, the 2 kidneys. Well, excuse me, 1 liver, you cut into 2, pancreas, small intestine, and the heart. And then of course, when it comes to tissue donation, which is important, we can enhance, 1 donor can enhance up to 75 patients' lives with heart valve tissues, corneas, which are the front lid of your eyeball, the glossy side, the glossy part of the front part of your eyeball. Fun fact, even for my fellow 4-eyesers out there, people who have to wear glasses, we can also still donate our corneas. We also have bone that can be partial or whole bone. We have the skin tissues, which is the most common one. They're used for skin grafts, usually on survivors of burns. Then we have tendons and ligaments, along with the heart valves, and the veins are mainly used in surgeries when there are either they have to cut some to get to a certain organ or body part that's injured, or if they just have, or if they're just damaged ones that were already there. These are used to help them replace those during surgeries mostly. And then I have these 2 visuals here to help you understand a little bit more about exactly what we're looking at when we're talking about these tissues and how they can help potentially enhance somebody's life who's been derailed by either a birth defect or an accident. Other life-saving donation opportunities. When it does come to donation, we don't only, even though the first and foremost, excuse me, the word slips from my mind, but the first priority, the first and foremost priority with anyone's donation is to get it to a recipient who is in dire need of it, which is pretty much everybody on the list, and to help them. Sometimes we are not able to get it to a recipient for multiple reasons. Some being like if the tissues or the organs just don't work anymore entirely. So the other ways that your donation can still go to helping save lives would include research, education, therapy, and whole body donation. So whole body donation, we don't do that here at Infinite Legacy. We focus more on donating the parts of the organs that can go to people to save their lives or tissues to enhance lives. But whole body donation is used in science and in teaching, just like any donations that can't go to a recipient. Therapy, I just found out, is literally the donation itself to a recipient. So that's what they refer to when they say therapy. Then education, it would be used for medical schools to help future doctors and nurses understand the body and the organs a little bit better. And then research is the other option that could potentially be, especially for anybody who has rare forms of diseases or anything, and they just use that in research for how it affects the body, maybe the way your active or inactive lifestyle affected those organs, to learn more about them so they could potentially look for more cures for diseases and other things such as that nature. And then a little bit more about Infinite Legacy and Donate Life in your community specifically. When it comes to that, we do our community outreach. So some of you, if you make it out to any of the senior programs that you have going on in your community, you'll probably end up seeing me at one of them, especially if they're health oriented, health education oriented. We do many different community events where I'm joining other organizations that host them. We host our own block parties every summer. This year in DC, we're going to be having ours in, I want to believe, June, and it's going to be in partnership with the new hospital that's opening in Ward 8. If you don't know about it, you should definitely look it up. It's the Cedar Hill Regional Center, I believe. And then we also do public service announcements through our social media pages, which I'll be sure to share with everybody at the end of this presentation. It's going to be a slide for it, so get your phones ready for that. And on those same social medias, we actually highlight stories that help motivate others to become registered donors. Because if you haven't noticed, maybe the media and what we see on social media and the news media, whenever they do talk about donation, it's usually just the points that will get them more views. So they usually tend to talk more about negative stories that impact donation, when really a majority of the stories when it comes to donation are positive outcomes of how families were able to get more time with loved ones, or how other donor families where people family members of donors like love the fact that their family member was able to help out in a way that they wanted to when they were alive, just a little differently than they expected. And how that and it's more harrowing and great stories just like those, where it just comes to connecting to purpose and understanding how the people in our community are affected by this problem that we have, and making sure that we can spread the love, especially within our own community, because you gotta help at home before you can help the rest of the world. And of course, we have national campaigns throughout the globe, especially throughout the nation, that help with donation awareness. As we mentioned at the top of this one, this month, April, is National Donate Life Month. Of course, all year round, we spread the education and awareness of the vital importance of organ and eye and tissue donation. But this month, we ramp it up to 1,000. We try to make sure you see it everywhere. I believe literally at the beginning of the month, on like the 1st of April, maybe, our CEO, Charlie Alexander, was actually at the Wizards, the Washington Wizards basketball game, where he spoke to them a little bit, I believe, during halftime. So it's just those type of amazing opportunities we try to get out there, make sure we deliver to all of you. Also within April, it already passed last Friday, actually on the 11th, it was actually National Blue and Green Day. So even though we do have the month to talk about it, we also have one specific day where we blow it up extremely with all the awareness and education. I know myself, I was at the Cedar Hill Urgent Care Center in Ward 8 Southeast, and I had a table out there giving out information about the new hospital and about Donate Life, and of course about donation. And then the last week of April is going to be, so next week, I believe, is going to be National Pediatric Transplant Week, where we have a specific focus on that. But not all of our national campaigns are in the month of April. We also have August, which is National Minority Donor Awareness Month, because a lot of the numbers when it comes to registration, a lot of our low counts come from our minority communities. And especially being a Black man raised in DC, I understand that is because of the mistrust we have in the medical system. And that's why we're trying to make sure we bring that awareness, especially to minority communities, to let them understand that it is definitely a big separation of responsibilities when it comes to that. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second as well. And then, of course, in September, we have National DMV Appreciation Month, because we're so heavily partnered with the DMV, and 95% of the people who sign up for the donor registries, for the donor registry list throughout the nation, 95% of that comes from DMV signups. So we celebrate them heavily. I see we have a question before I move on to my next one.
Okay. Thank you, Anne. You have another question or comment for Dwight?
Yes, I do. Dwight, when you take the skin, I take it you take it from places where it can't be seen. Okay.
You already got it on the money. Exactly.
Oh, okay. Because my family's crazy, so you got to explain things to them. You got to go A, B, C, and D. And so I want to make sure that I heard it out of your mouth. Okay.
That's 100% understandable there, Ms. Ann. I appreciate you asking, because it's always about those concerns. People, especially in my line of work, we get a lot of the same concerns, and people kind of like over time get tired of it. I do not, because I understand that these are concerns. This isn't people being silly or being too much. To me, these are all legitimate concerns they've heard from trusted sources in their community. And so why wouldn't they believe it? And so I'm here to just let them know that these couple of things that you did here were just misconceptions or myths that people believe but shouldn't, because this is the actual education. So when it does come to that, We, like I said earlier, we work with the morticians before we start the recovery process. And so we know what the donor would be wearing at their funeral. So we take from areas that would be covered by either the dress or the suit or whatever they'd be wearing.
Okay. Uh, um, we recently had a skin donation from a relative that died,
Oh,
and I was in charge of the
hello?
will, and
Mhm.
so I was kind
Can I
of
help
still
you?
about there was a lot of excitement over the part of the, and so I caught a lot of grief,
Mm.
but um it was what the person wanted because the skin actually went to their newborn, their grand child
Oh,
who
that's
was burned. So I felt that you should understand that, and but I got through it. So I just wanted to know that that was what was done.
that is wonderful. That was wonderful to hear. Like organ and tissue donation affects all of us, and I'm happy that you stood by your friend's wishes because that's
My
exactly
cousin,
what
yeah,
they would have
mhm,
wanted. And it went
yes,
to even closer home. That was way closer to home than I would have predicted. I love those stories when a mother gives an organ to their child if they
yeah.
need it and stuff like that. That's exactly a big part of all of this as well. So thank you for that again, Miss Ann. I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you, and thank you for answering my questions because
No problem.
I'm trying not to take up all your time. I might call
It's
you.
okay, Anne. Thank you so
All
much.
good, all
Mhm.
good.
It's okay.
I'm gonna make
We love the
sure.
questions. We love the comments. So thank you so much.
Okay.
Love them. I love them extremely. So I'm gonna make sure I give my volunteers enough time to talk. So let me go ahead and let you all know why is this all so important. What it says here nationally, there are over 100,000 people, over 103,000 people, I can say confidently, who are waiting on the transplant waiting list. Every 9 minutes, someone new is added to the list, and about 17 people pass away every day waiting for a transplant. Now, what it doesn't say also here that it should say, I'm gonna update this, is why is it important? Why is donation so important? It's important because this is about helping your community. I focus heavily on the communities that have low registration rates. And so I'm there mostly, but I'm all throughout DC because I need everybody, personally, I need everybody signed up to be a donor to show that they care about their community because this is one of the least effort ways that you can show that you truly care about your community to help out our fellow brothers and sisters that are working just as hard as us to make sure we get through it for our families and again for our communities. So I feel like that is definitely something that you should keep in mind when you think about these sort of things, when you think about anonymously helping others. That's truly important. Ms. Ann, you got your hand raised.
Annie had another quick comment for
Uh,
us.
One quick comment. You do take financial donations too, don't you?
I believe like you can send it to our office. You can do that. That is possible. Yes, you can send them to our office. I'll put the like the website on here
Okay.
when my volunteers are talking in the chat, so you can check out the website. And if you did want to do monetary donations, I'm pretty sure we do accept those as well. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Alrighty, so as I mentioned earlier, I didn't update these numbers since the end of last year, but I did check them this morning. Unfortunately, it is still over 1,200. So currently on the wait list for DC, who is currently waiting? There are over 1,200 people in DC on the transplant waiting list. Of course, these people range from fathers to mothers, grandparents to newborn infants. There are no restrictions on who is waiting for a life-saving transplant, which is why there should be no restrictions on who signs up to be a donor. Our heaviest one that we always have, and this throughout the nation and also here in DC, the heaviest amount needed would be the kidneys. Kidneys are always the most needed organ. That literally holds true throughout most states and all of the nation as well. And we want to make sure people understand, like, get a better look at exactly what we're talking about. And of course, all these people are somewhere on the range of how they're doing differently, the severity of their cases. Like some people can still go to work every day, probably visit the hospital once a month, if that. Some people are in and out of the hospital weekly, some are out in and out of the hospital daily, some have to stay in the hospital because their cases are that severe. So some people can still play a game with their kids, go home in the afternoon, probably take a pill or two, just because they're not that severe yet. And then some people have organ failure and they have to stay on machines until they get that donation. These are the people I represent whenever I talk to people and help those people understand and educate them and bring awareness about this phenomenon that's going on right here in our backyards. And finally, just some common myths and misconceptions. We actually covered a bunch of these in our the last couple of times I've done this presentation. So this is more of a quick one to go over, just to touch on a few of them. It's against my religion. It has already been researched, and we have talked to the heads of faiths, the AOPO community, which is the Organ Procurement Organization, the whole association, the joint association throughout the nation. They did the research and talked to the heads of the faiths. Most to all of the major religions in America support donation at some level, but they all support deceased donation, so donating after you pass away. And then we have another one here. This is the most common one in DC for sure. Not everything will be done to save my life. This is false, folks. This is false. As I was mentioning earlier, the hospitals, they take up a certain amount of time to give life-saving treatments. And then at a certain point, if your health is still deteriorating, they have to refer your case to the local OPO. And then we only step in to listen. We don't make any decisions on your health care, and the hospital staff does not make any decisions on whether or not you donate or who the donation goes to or any part of the donation process. And then, as you can see here, we have a few other ones. You can't donate if you need an autopsy. That is also false. You can do the autopsy would happen first if any foul play was detected, and then donation can happen afterwards. Rich people are the first to get organs. False again. As I mentioned earlier, you have to, like, the factors that come into play to match a donor to a recipient. They do not involve race, sexual orientation, or your wealth or income status. My family would have to pay for it. When you donate, the OPO takes care of any additional bills that come from the donation process. So anything extra the mortician has to do, or any OR bills that are cured or that are occurred because of the donation process are taken care of by the OPO. And finally, babies and the elderly cannot donate. This is false. As I said earlier, everybody who is on the list, there is no restrictions to who is on the transplant waiting list, so there is no restrictions to who can donate to help if they really want to. And with that being said, folks, I've talked so much, I don't need to keep talking. So instead, I would love to introduce Jerry and Eileen, some of our amazing Donate Life ambassadors. And so please, Jerry and Eileen, you can feel free to go ahead and share your story with the people.
Well, thank you, Dwight. Thank you, Alexander, and thank you, WildTech. I think that's great that you know how to work computers, because I sure don't. I'm Jerry Shyatt, my wife Eileen.
Hi.
I am a recipient, and Eileen is a donor. I will start by saying that I had kidney disease, and I also have diabetes. Diabetes, because it was under control, was not a factor when the surgery took place. I just wanted to, because I know that question was asked a little earlier today. We have been ambassadors now for about 5 years with
Longer than that.
Infinite Legacy. We're also involved with an organization called TRIO, and TRIO is how we met Infinite Legacy, because TRIO, which is the Transplant Recipients International Organization, is a great organization. If anyone is considering a transplant, has a transplant, or has a friend who has a transplant, because It's a wonderful organization because you have people there who are waiting for transplants, who come to the meetings and they get their questions answered, and they get to meet other people who are in a similar circumstance. So between these two great organizations, it's a great help if you're on the list or thinking about going on the list. So now I will just briefly tell you my story. Like I say, I have been diabetic, and that does cause problems. My doctor for years has been trying to get me to eat right and lose weight, which unfortunately I'm a little knuckleheaded when it comes to things like that. So consequently, my weight got up to about 275 pounds, and my numbers were not good, but I was still able to get around and work and do all the things I need to do. Well, one day I'm on an appointment downtown in Baltimore, and I literally could not get out of the car. My legs felt like they weighed 500 pounds each. And I called my wife, and I did not go to my appointment that day. I just drove the car back to the house. And while I parked in the garage, I could not get out of the car again. So my wife said, we're going to go to the local Doc in the Box and find out what's going on. So about 5 minutes away is a clinic. I was there for about 3 hours. And then the doctor comes out and says, your potassium level is at 9. You have about 5 minutes to live. Get to a hospital immediately. The ambulance won't be able to get you there fast enough. You're better off just going. So I spent 3 days in a local hospital, lost 45 pounds, and I was placed on, as I call it, live-alysis, not dialysis. So I continued along for a while, about 6 months on dialysis, 3 times a week. And if anyone knows of someone who has been on dialysis, it can be a very draining situation for the individual getting it. So one day I was talking to someone and they said, have you thought about a transplant? I said, no, I hadn't really thought about it. So, well, I can give you information on it. So we originally applied to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, and we had to fill out forms, and more importantly, we had to do all kinds of testing. Well, saw an ad on television for minimally invasive surgery at University of Maryland. They took information over the phone. The next day, my wife and I were down there being tested. Turns out my wife was not a match for me, but it was just one of these great things that happened. But something interesting happened while my wife was there speaking with a counselor, and I'm going to let her name's Eileen, I'll let her kind of tell her story of that.
I'm in the waiting room and this little lady comes charging.
The bribe.
Oh, one thing before that. We met with a counselor and they asked if you've ever been bribed. Did Jerry offer you money? Did he do anything? And I said, if him buying me a Keurig was a bribe, then yes, he bribed me. Because you're not allowed to get don't accept any money or anything from gifts from anybody.
Yes. Well, anyway, the interesting thing about transplant is that there's a waiting list, as Dwight said, and it's quite extensive. If you have a donor, even if it's not a match, you can move all the way up on the list, which happened in my case. The other good thing about that is, because we both work in our own business, we could schedule our surgeries And mine was done first because Eileen was not a match for me. Therefore, they did not remove her kidney until it was time for someone else to receive the kidney that she was donating. To make it a story, I'm going to go back for a moment to dialysis. My surgery took about 5 hours. I was in the hospital for 2 days. I could drive. I could do just about anything I want because I wasn't as tired as I was after getting dialysis 3 times a week. So while I was in the hospital waiting for my surgery, I'm going to have Eileen tell her little story now. Again,
I'm in the waiting room, and remember, this is in 12, so you were not allowed to associate with other family members. This little lady comes running in saying, "I'm late, I'm donating kidney." And I went up to the nurse and I said, "I think that might be my husband's donor." Well, they real fast took me away to a different room. I was not allowed near the family. And Jerry went into surgery and no problems whatsoever.
like I say, it was 3 days and I was out of the hospital and I was back to living a normal life. And I remember I decided to thank the people down at the dialysis center for keeping me alive for that year. So I had a little box with me and I handed it to the tech who took care of me during my time there. And she opened it up and there was a dozen donuts. And I said in the words of Donald Trump, "You're fired." And they laughed and ate the donuts. And I have not been back since, but she said to me that people who get transplants generally don't go back to the dialysis center just to thank them. So that was just the kind of the way things were. And hopefully they have changed since then. But the beauty of my situation was that I no longer had to go on dialysis. I could go back to living a normal life. And I have been since May 24th of 2012. But there was an interesting thing that occurred while I was recovering at home. The phone rings one day and I answer it and he says, "Hi, this is Mr. Cook. We went to elementary school together and I wanted to know how you were feeling." So I said, "How did you find out about that?" He said, "God told me." So I'm not a religious person and if you'd have seen the expression on my face, he probably would have hung the phone up on me, but he didn't. So we talked for a little while and I asked him what he did for a living. He said he was a minister. So I said that's very interesting. And then a few weeks later, Eileen tells me that a certain customer called we hadn't heard from in 5 years and wanted to know how I was doing. And when Eileen asked her, "How did you find out?" she said, "I'd rather tell Jerry when I see him." So I went to see her the next day. And she said the same thing. God told me. Now, I don't know if there's a special network in heaven, but I'm not saying that'll happen to everybody. It was just a very unusual experience. And one thing I would like to point out is generally people who do receive an organ may not ever find out who their donor is. That's where Infinite Legacy comes along. You as the patient would send a letter to them asking to speak with the donor. They give that letter to the donor, and if they choose to, they can then contact you. So I don't know what the percentages are, but I think it's between 25 and 40% of the people find out who their donor is. Because this is just one of those gifts that's given that they don't want any glory for it. They just want to know that they've helped another person. So that's the beauty of what this is about, and the beauty of what the Donate Life Month is all about, is that you become an advocate in some cases and try to help other people who have questions, because there are things. Sorry for the phone. There are things that do occur, and you can give some answers. I'm not a medical person, but
Hello?
it's just one of those wonderful things that that takes place that it's overwhelming in its own way. That the people at the hospital, they care about you. The donor's family cares about you, even though they don't know who you are. And it's just one of those things. So basically, there's another part of the story too. My at the time that I met my donor at the hospital, because she was operated on the morning that I was operated on. Her name was Peggy, and her husband's name is Larry. And we became friends as a result of that. Then one day, received a phone call, and I did not answer it, but Eileen did and said, Jerry, it's Larry on the phone. He wants to talk to you. So Larry told me that Peggy was killed in a car accident. And so he invited me to the funeral. And when I saw him at the funeral, he came up to me and said, you take care of Peggy. She's all I have left. So we've been friends since 2012. And we've gotten together a few times. And as a matter of fact, one of the things we do every year to honor Peggy is that we do shirts. We donate shirts to this church that they sell, and it has some of the sayings that Peggy has used over the years. And you don't know me that well, but Peggy was crazy as funny as I am, and it's just been a wonderful relationship. So with that, I can open up to any questions you might have, and we'll do our
I
best to
just
answer.
want to say one thing. I'm a donor. My surgery took place on a Wednesday. Thursday, I was home. Friday, I'm driving, and my incision is less than 1/4 of an inch. No problems, no complications, no nothing. It's easy to become a kidney donor.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Jerry, Eileen, for sharing. And thank you, Dwight, for bringing them to us today. Before we have any questions or comments, but please raise your hand if you do. Let's just thank Jerry and Eileen for visiting us today before we answer any questions. So thank you, Jerry and Eileen. We appreciate it so much.
Thank
Do
you.
you have a
Thank
walk?
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
Beautiful
you.
story.
Beautiful.
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 Yes.
Thank you so much.
Bless you.
Dwight, do you guys have a
Yes, thank you all so much for your kind words. Dwight and Jerry and Eileen, can you unmute yourself, please?
Yep, I'm right here. Jerry, you
Yeah.
got to unmute yourself. He had muted everybody, so go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yes, Eileen, you had a question for us?
do you have a walk coming up in your area?
A donation walk.
Yes.
They I'd have to ask our hospital services team, but yeah, they have walks like every other day, and like they have like they also have them impromptu as well if they need to have one for a donor right then and there. So a donor walk is a little more specific. But if you want like a flag raising, then that I can also get with the hospital services and ask them about the flag raising, because I think a donor walk is inside the hospital during active hours and stuff, so not anybody can just join that, but the flag raising anybody can join, where they raise up the Donate Life flag.
Well, that's, we just did one recently in Baltimore. We were at that. That's quite emotional because,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as you know, that someone has passed away and their organs were given to hopefully as many people as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And matter of fact, at the last one, they gave us the flag that was flying at the hospital.
Oh, that's amazing.
And it's just it's just remarkable because before transplant, I had no idea of what was going on, and thanks to Infinite Legacy, I've learned a lot, and we've gained a lot from listening to people who are thinking about it. As a matter of fact, one of the one of the interesting things that happened was I was with a client one day and she was not her normal cheery self. And I said, "What's the matter?" She said, "My father is at a hospital. He's got liver problems
Hmm.
and they don't know what to do with him because they're not a transplant hospital. They were able to treat him somewhat. So we made a phone call to University of Maryland, and University of Maryland picked him up from the other hospital and took him down to University of Maryland. And within 2 weeks, he received a liver transplant. He was that he was that seriously ill that the UNOS, which is the organization that keeps track of all the transplants, moved him way up in the process, even though he
Hmm.
hadn't applied. So unfortunately, he lived about 3 years that they wouldn't have had, had that not happened. So it's just the things that happen sometime. And we have no special powers. We just know people down at University of Maryland. We made a phone call, and next thing you know. So that's just one of the things that happen, with the whole process. It's just
Connection.
it's just extraordinary that takes place.
Sorry about that. Oh, thank you very much for sharing that, Jerry, and thank you for asking that question, Eileen. Just giving a little bit more perspective on the overall process.
Yes. Well,
The actual procedures happen themselves. I appreciate you both for showing up and showing out today. Oh,
well,
my
Yep, thank
internet's being
you.
a little.
Thank you so much. We got some hands for some questions. So just keeping time in mind. But again, we really appreciate all the questions. We first have Miss Ann. You have a question for Jerry and Eileen or a comment? Please. Okay, again, Miss Ann, you got to make sure you hit unmute in the middle so you can share your question or your comment.
Okay, okay. I'm saying she said she had to give up one of her kidney. Can she live off of one kidney?
say that again, please. I'm sorry.
She said she donated one kidney. Can she live off of one kidney the rest of her life?
Yes.
Yes, and if you become a kidney donor and you should, God forbid, get sick, you are automatically put at the top of the list to get another kidney.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Well, it's funny,
okay.
when I was in for my pre-op, the surgeon who did the surgery, I asked him, "Why do we have two kidneys?" He said, "That's the way God planned it, just in case." He was being a little bit funny about it, but he was still serious at the same time, because your body can survive with one kidney. And it's just the nature of how we're made.
Thank you so much, Ann, for that question. Again, let's not forget to lower our hands, please, so we can make sure everyone has the chance to share. Thank you. We got our other Ann, and then Miss Dina. Thank you so much.
I just want to say that I admire both of you very much. and I found the story very inspiring.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless both of you, because you have no idea how many other people that hear this and pass it on, you may inspire to do something, as I call it, great, because I think you're great.
Oh,
And God bless you again.
thank you.
Thank you.
And I wish you all a happy Easter too, by the way.
Same to you, dear.
No. Thank you, Anne, for the kind words. We got Ms. Dina next. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you all for sharing very much.
I have a question. I see many documentaries where all across the US the drug users die in the street. I'd like to know if their bodies are unclaimed by families, if they don't have anybody, will their body parts be used as donors?
Well, I can answer that one for you, Miss Dina. That one is actually that is no, their body would not be used as donors. First and foremost, it's unethical because this is not something that they've agreed to, and then we didn't talk to any family members. And also, it wouldn't be possible because if they pass away without being on a ventilation machine, excuse me, then the blood would stop going to their bodies, and then and would stop pumping to their organs, and their organs would fail. And after blood stops going to the organs and they fail, they can no longer be donated.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you so much. And finally, again, appreciate you all lowering your hands. Thank you. We got Yvonne, but make sure to raise your hands if you have any other questions. Hey, Yvonne.
All right, thank you, Alex. Yeah, this has been very interesting. I was curious about how the cutbacks with the Health and Human Services, how it will impact referrals for organ donations. And I was thinking particularly about the Veterans Administration Hospital here in DC and around the country, and about advocacy on their behalf and how these cutbacks are going to impact organ donations. Do you care to address that or have any speculation about it?
At the moment, there are no concrete or definite ways that this will be impacting donation. In my opinion, in the knowledge that I do have, I've been working with this nonprofit sector for almost 2 years now in June, and I can say that when it comes to the referrals, that the cutbacks that are being made I do not believe they will affect like referral cases, because when it comes to referrals, it's more so about, getting the donations of life and making sure they get to and get to the recipient. I do not believe that will be affected by the cutbacks. I could be wrong. I do reserve the right to be wrong on this one because I'm not heavily I'm not heavily integrated with the financials of the business. So I hope that answers part of your question, at least to the best of my knowledge.
I
Oh,
can
yes.
I can
Thank
add a
you.
little something to that too, if you like.
Go for it, Jerry.
The University of Maryland is associated with the Veterans Hospital across the street from them. And the veterans would be referred to University of Maryland for transplant because that particular hospital does not do transplants. So I'm sure that may be the situation around the country too with other hospitals that are associated with VA centers. So there would be the opportunity for them to still receive the life-giving opportunity, shall we say.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Any other thoughts or comments or questions or anything that you would like to share for today? But again, thank you so much, Jerry and Eileen. Dwight, again, thank you so much for bringing them to us today, and the story was just amazing. What did them coming today mean to you, and not why did they, or why did you choose specifically them for them to come today, which but I love, but how did this come to be?
Oh, well, thankfully, we usually put out the the request for volunteers to join us. So anybody who is willing to speak, because a lot of our volunteer opportunities have to do with like either helping table an event, so they'd be talking to people one on one. Not everybody is as comfortable talking in front of people. Thankfully, Jerry and Eileen stepped up because actually no, sorry, something happened outside. But like thankfully Jerry and Eileen stepped up and they were more than happy to assist in talking to and sharing their story about how Donate Life a month, what it means to them and how donation affected their lives personally. And to be honest, I really hit the jackpot here, and we all have really that they offered to come and talk to us today because they have such an amazing, beautiful story. And I love that they were a part of an exchange chain, which is one of the things that we call what they experience, where one person gives to somebody, and then their family member or somebody related to them gives to the original person's recipient. And those type of exchanges actually happen not as commonly as people would want them to, but it does happen around the whole nation. And like some of these chains are actually really big, into the points where it's like four or five exchanges happening in order for multiple people to get their donations. And so like in my opinion, we really lucked out in getting them.
Well, in my case, the exchange was about 1,500, including a face transplant that took place at Johns Hopkins Hospital, a successful transplant, facial transplant.
That's a
So
huge
it
chain.
was just one of those things. As a matter of fact, Eileen's doctor, when she made her donation, was part of that transplant at Johns Hopkins. So there is kind of a mutual situation, even though Johns Hopkins is the big player in town. University of Maryland is one of the top hospitals for transplants in the country. So.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, again, thank you all so much for joining. And Dwight, thank you so much again for presenting to us and our seniors. And we always learn something new with you. And we really appreciate bringing this opportunity and Jerry and Eileen to us today. And I'm sure all that are on today and watch the YouTube video will definitely be inspired by your guys' stories. So.
Oh.
We hope to do something like this in the future. Dwight, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you
And
for having us again.
yes, let's make sure to stay on for our poll, but let's thank Dwight, Jerry, and Eileen so much for coming on and presenting to us today.
Well,
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
And
you
God bless
so
all.
much for the information, informative.
Thank you, God.
stuff. Really.
You.
God bless all
Thank you
of
so
you.
much.
You too. Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful day, you all.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Dwight.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jerry and
That was great.
Eileen. Thank you so
That was
much.
good.